Someone does not want to let you go. You weren't supposed to hear this right now. In fact, a part of you doesn't even want to, because you just got your power back. You finally stopped checking your phone. You finally stopped replaying conversations in your head at 2 a.m. like they were evidence in a case you were trying to solve. You finally told yourself, "I'm done." And the strange thing is, you meant it this time, so why does it still feel like something isn't finished? Why does it feel like there's a thread you can't fully cut, no matter how sharp your scissors are, no matter how many times you've told yourself this story is over? Here's what's strange. While you've been detaching, someone else has been waking up. While you've been building your life, your peace, your sense of self back from the ground up, someone has been sitting quietly with the weight of what they walked away from, or what they took for granted, or what they never properly chose, even when it was right in front of them. And here's the part that might catch you off guard. You're not waiting anymore, but something is still moving toward you. Not because you chased it, not because you stayed small enough for someone to feel comfortable, but because you finally stopped needing it. And that shift, that quiet, unannounced shift in your energy is louder than anything you could have ever said out loud. Stay with me. Because what's happening behind the scenes right now is not what you think. There is something nobody talks about when you finally decide to choose yourself. Everyone celebrates that moment. Friends tell you how proud they are. You say something honest but carefully worded on your stories. You wake up one morning, and the weight that used to sit on your chest before you even opened your eyes is just lighter. And you think, this is it. I finally did it. But here is what nobody tells you about that moment. It is one of the loneliest feelings in the world. Not because something is wrong with you. Not because you made the wrong decision. But because real growth, the kind that actually sticks, the kind that quietly rewires how you move through every room you walk into, it doesn't happen in the highlight moments. It happens in the in-between ones. The quiet Tuesday afternoons when you are doing dishes and a song comes on, and you just stand there, hands wet, staring at nothing in particular, feeling something you don't quite have a name for. It happens in the middle of a conversation with someone new, when you catch yourself being guarded in ways you don't fully understand yet, not because you plan to be, but because something in you learned, without your permission, to brace before impact. It happens when you are genuinely proud of yourself and quietly heartbroken at the same time, and you don't have the words to explain that contradiction to anyone, so you just smile and say you are doing well. You are doing well? That part is true. But there is something else sitting underneath that truth. Something most people never slow down long enough to examine. And that something is what this is really about. When you pulled your energy back, when you finally stopped tearing your own walls down for people who never even knocked properly, something happened that looked like strength on the outside but felt strangely like grief on the inside. Because here's the thing about reclaiming yourself that nobody prepares you for. You cannot reclaim yourself without mourning the version of you who gave so much away. You did not just lose a connection, or a relationship, or a situation. You lost the version of yourself who believed so completely in something that you poured yourself into it like water into sand, watching it disappear and wondering why you kept pouring. That version of you was not weak. She was not foolish. That version of you was someone who loved without a ceiling. And that is one of the rarest qualities a human being can carry. It is also somehow the one the world most consistently fails to protect. The wound was never really about the other person. The wound was about discovering that your love, your enormous, home-like, I will sit with you in your worst moments kind of love, was something that could simply be walked past. That people could stand right in front of something sacred and not recognize it. That you could be someone's most formative chapter and still get treated like a footnote in their story. And so you did what made sense. You went quiet. You turned inward. You stopped making yourself easy to access. But here's the part that cuts the deepest. The part that almost nobody is willing to say out loud. You did not just protect yourself from other people. You protected yourself from yourself, because the real fear, the one buried beneath the boundaries and the carefully constructed sense of not caring anymore, is not that someone will hurt you again. It is that you will let them. It is that you will see every sign, register every red flag, and feel the pull anyway. It is that your heart is so fundamentally wired for depth and real connection that even when your mind is screaming to slow down, something older and quieter inside of you will simply recognize someone. And that recognition will bypass every wall you built, every lesson you swore you learned, every promise you made to yourself in the dark. That is the fear nobody names, the fear of your own capacity to love. And so the detachment you are sitting in right now, the powerful, necessary, hard-earned detachment that the people around you are applauding, it is doing two things simultaneously. It is healing you, and it is hiding you, not from the world, but from the possibility that something real could find its way in before you feel ready. Because being unprepared for something beautiful has started to feel more dangerous than simply remaining alone. You have spent so long being overlooked that somewhere along the way, without realizing it, you started to overlook yourself too. Not in the obvious ways. You are self-aware. You are doing the work, but in the quiet, almost invisible ways. In the way you sometimes dismiss your own intuition when it tells you that someone is genuinely drawn to you because it feels safer to assume they are not. In the way you occasionally wonder whether you are actually as rare as you sense you are, or whether that is just a story you tell yourself to make the loneliness feel more meaningful. In the way you have grown so accustomed to being someone's I should have, someone's 3 a.m. realization that arrives 6 months after it would have mattered, that you have quietly forgotten something important. You are not just the person things almost happen with. You are the person who is supposed to arrive. There is someone in your energy right now who is going through something that mirrors your past. They are cracking open, slowly, the way a seed cracks open before anything grows, which looks from the outside like breaking but is actually the beginning of everything. They are realizing things about love and depth and what it means to actually be present with another person that you understood years ago. Maybe even as a child, when you carried feelings too large for your body and had nobody around who could hold them with you. They are waking up to something you were born already knowing. And there is a particular kind of exhaustion that comes with being the person who was always awake while everyone around them was still sleeping. You carried that, the weight of feeling things deeply in a world that consistently rewards whoever feels least. The specific loneliness of being perceived as too much by people who were, in truth, simply not enough. The quiet grief of being someone's what if, someone's realization that landed too late to do either of you any good. But something is shifting now, not just inside of you, around you. The people who once looked through you are beginning to look at you, not because you changed for them, not because you made yourself smaller or easier or more convenient, but because you changed for yourself. And that kind of change carries a light that is impossible to ignore indefinitely, even by the people who spent years trying. Here is the insight that might loosen something in your chest. The reason certain connections feel unbreakable, the reason some cords seem made of something stronger than any effort to sever them, is not purely about fate, though perhaps it is partly that. It is because those specific people are the ones who, even imperfectly, even briefly, made you feel the full weight of your own depth. They held up a mirror, and for a moment, maybe the first real moment in a long time, you saw yourself reflected in someone else's recognition. That is not something a person forgets easily, not because you need them, but because being genuinely seen, even once, even incompletely, does something to a person at a cellular level that cannot simply be reasoned away. And so quietly, without fully admitting it even to yourself, you have been searching for that feeling again. In every new interaction, in every careful moment of evaluation before you allow someone a fraction closer, you have been asking a question you never say out loud. Will this person actually see me? And when the answer is no, which it often is, because most people move through the world without looking carefully at anything, you retreat. Not out of arrogance, out of something closer to self-respect, out of the quiet, earned understanding that you would rather be alone than spend another season being misread. But you need to hear something now, not as a prediction, not as a spiritual message, as something simply, plainly true. You are not meant to remain a mystery to yourself. The depth you carry, the layers that even you have not fully uncovered, they are not the reason you have been misunderstood. They are not the reason love has felt complicated or incomplete or like something that always seems to belong more fully to other people. Your depth is not a problem to be managed. It is the most real and valuable thing about you. And right now, at this precise point in your journey, something is asking you to stop treating your own heart like a liability. The transformation you are in the middle of is real. It may be physical. It may be the way you carry yourself in a room now, the way you speak, the things you no longer apologize for. But underneath all of that, it is something quieter. It is the slow, almost imperceptible process of learning to trust yourself again, not confidence in the performative sense. Trust in the deeper sense. The kind that says, I know what I am worth and I will not negotiate it downward, but I will also not use my own value as a reason to keep every door permanently locked. Because there is a version of strength that is actually fear in a very convincing disguise. And sometimes the genuinely brave thing, after everything a person has survived, is not to build the walls higher. It is to stay soft, to remain, despite all evidence that caution is smarter, quietly open. Love, when it comes this time, will not look the way you once imagined it. It will not arrive with the kind of dramatic, undeniable certainty that makes the decision easy. It will probably arrive quietly, almost inconveniently, in the middle of a season when you are genuinely focused on yourself and completely unbothered, which is exactly when you will have no prepared response for it. And for a moment, you will almost talk yourself out of it. You will question whether you are ready, whether it is real, or whether you are pattern matching again, finding depth in something ordinary because depth is what you are always looking for. That doubt will not be weakness. It will be your intelligence asking you to look carefully before you move. But do not let intelligence become a reason to avoid. You are allowed to be healed and still healing. You are allowed to have boundaries and still be reachable. You are allowed to love yourself completely and make room for someone else inside the same life. These things were never in conflict with each other. You just spent so long in situations that forced you to choose between yourself and love that the two began to feel like opposing forces. They never were. The journey you are on right now is not a straight line, and it was never meant to be. Some days you will feel completely grounded, untouchable in the best possible way. Clear on who you are and unbothered by what you are not. Other days something small, a song, a familiar smell, a message from an unexpected name will bring the old weight back, and you will stand there wondering whether you have actually moved at all. Both of those days belong to the same journey. Neither one cancels the other out. What matters, the only thing that has ever really mattered, is that you keep moving, not urgently, not toward a specific destination or a specific person, or a specific version of a life you planned when you were younger and less complicated. Just forward, alive, present, fully inhabiting the life that is already, quietly, undeniably yours. Because the most significant thing about where you are right now is not the person who might be finding their way back. It is not the connection that refuses to dissolve no matter how many times you have tried. It is not even the transformation that other people are beginning to notice from the outside. The most significant thing is this. For perhaps the first time, you are becoming someone who does not need to be found in order to feel whole. And that, quietly, without announcement, without anyone needing to validate it, is exactly when everything real begins to move in your direction. Stay open. Not for them. For yourself. You have earned the right to be genuinely surprised by something good.